May 10th, 1941, a date that would be etched in the annals of World War II history, a day that defied logic and sparked countless theories. The Blitz raged on. Britain stood alone, facing the relentless onslaught of the Luftwaffe. London was ablaze, its citizens enduring unimaginable hardship. And then, something surreal happened. Something so bizarre, so unexpected, that it momentarily eclipsed the horrors of the war. A lone German Messerschmitt Bf 110 appeared over Scotland, not bombing, not engaging in combat, but seemingly lost and disoriented. It was an anomaly in the skies. Its pilot bailed out, abandoning his aircraft and descending by parachute, landing in a field near Eaglesham, a quiet corner of the Scottish countryside. The farmer who found him, a simple man of the land, was utterly stunned. This was Rudolf Hess, Hitler's deputy Führer, one of the most powerful men in Nazi Germany. His presence in Scotland was beyond comprehension. News of his capture sent shockwaves through London and Berlin, sending ripples of confusion and disbelief through the highest echelons of power. Was this a trick? A carefully orchestrated deception designed to mislead the Allies? Was it a clandestine peace mission, a desperate attempt to negotiate a settlement with Britain behind Hitler's back? Or was it a desperate escape, a flight from a regime that Hess believed was doomed? Hess was no minor figure. He was at the very heart of the Nazi regime, a confidant of Hitler and a key architect of its policies. For him to fly solo into enemy territory without authorization was either an act of utter madness or a calculated gamble of unimaginable proportions. Churchill, informed mid-film, immediately recognized the propaganda potential in this bizarre event, a chance to undermine the enemy's morale. Theories swirled. Was Hess carrying a secret message directly from Hitler, a proposal for peace, or a warning of impending doom? Or was he fleeing a regime that was turning against him, sensing his own downfall and seeking refuge in enemy hands? The farmer, David McLean, a man of the earth, could never have guessed that his chance encounter with a stranger from the sky would embroil him in one of Tutu's greatest mysteries. The man who fell from the sky brought not answers, but decades of unanswered questions, fueling speculation and debate for generations to come. What drove Hess to risk everything, his position, his reputation, his very life, on such an audacious and improbable venture? Was this the act of a desperate man clinging to a fading hope, or a calculated move in a secret game of power and betrayal? The world would spend years, even decades, searching for the truth behind his flight, sifting through documents, interviewing witnesses, and piecing together fragments of information. And so began one of the war's most enduring enigmas, a puzzle that continues to fascinate and confound historians to this day. In 1941, Britain stood as a lonely bastion against the darkness that had consumed much of Europe. The nation was battered by relentless bombing raids, its cities scarred, but its spirit remained unbroken. It was the only major power still actively resisting Hitler's seemingly unstoppable advance, a beacon of defiance in a world rapidly succumbing to tyranny. The Nazi war machine had swept across Europe with terrifying speed and efficiency, crushing nations and redrawing the map in its own brutal image. Hope was scarce, and the future looked bleak for those who refused to bow to the swastika. Into this chaos a figure emerged, seemingly from the shadows, Rudolf Hess. He arrived like a character plucked straight from the pages of a spy novel, his motives shrouded in mystery. Hess, one of Hitler's closest confidants, believed he could broker a separate peace with the British, a deal that would reshape the course of the war. He was offering Germany a free hand to dominate continental Europe, in exchange for leaving the vast British Empire untouched and intact. But this audacious proposal represented a profound and fundamental misreading of British resolve and Winston Churchill's unwavering determination. Churchill, a man of immense courage and conviction, would never negotiate with Hitler, not while bombs continued to rain down on London and innocent civilians perished in the inferno. The timing of Hess's arrival was particularly crucial and laden with significance. Hitler was just weeks away from launching Operation Barbarossa, the massive invasion of the Soviet Union. Did Hess genuinely hope to secure peace in the West, freeing Germany to unleash its full might against the East? The news of his capture and subsequent imprisonment in Britain became an immediate global sensation, captivating the world's attention. It exposed deep cracks and potential divisions within the seemingly monolithic Nazi leadership. The Nazi regime swiftly denounced Hess as insane and a traitor, attempting to distance themselves from his actions. But the damage to their credibility and aura of invincibility was already done, leaving many to question the stability of the Reich. The eagle, a symbol of Nazi power, had landed on British soil, not in triumph, but in surrender. But no one could foresee with certainty whether this bizarre event would ultimately bring the promise of peace, or simply plunge the world into even greater chaos and uncertainty. In the tumultuous spring of 1941, a perplexing event unfolded that continues to baffle historians to this day. Why did Rudolf Hess, Deputy Führer of Nazi Germany, embark on a daring solo flight to Britain? What drove him to undertake such a perilous journey? Was he simply mad, his mind fractured by the pressures of war and political machinations? Had he been sidelined by rivals within the Nazi hierarchy, his influence waning, and was he desperate to regain relevance in Hitler's inner circle, even through such a reckless act? Or was he acting on a secret peace mission, sanctioned or otherwise, hoping to connect with a British faction that was perhaps willing to negotiate a separate peace with Germany, despite the official stance of the government? Some even suggest that British intelligence deliberately lured him to Britain, feeding him false hope and promises of negotiation in order to destabilize the Nazi regime from within. Each theory, however, has its flaws and inconsistencies. Attributing his actions solely to madness seems too simple and dismissive, while the idea of a genuine peace mission appears incredibly naive, given the political climate, and the notion of a British plot remains largely speculative, lacking concrete evidence. The truth, as is often the case, may lie in a complex mix of factors. An unstable man, perhaps, nudged by the relentless pressures of war and political intrigue, ultimately chasing a deluded hope of personal redemption or lasting peace. Hess's own accounts of the event, often contradictory and unreliable, have only deepened the mystery surrounding his motives. His audacious flight to Scotland remains a perplexing puzzle, defying any single clear and definitive answer. After the war, Hess was sentenced to life at Spandau Prison, where he became its sole inmate for decades. A wild theory emerged. Was the prisoner really Hess, or a double? Some claimed the man lacked Hess's scars and refused family visits to hide his identity. The idea the real Hess was silenced to bury explosive secrets about his mission. But DNA tests in 2019 confirmed the prisoner was indeed Hess. Still, the doppelganger myth persists, fueled by the sense that the full truth remains hidden. The story endures because it taps into our suspicion of official narratives. In August 1987, Hess was found dead in Spandau, an apparent suicide at age 93. Officially, he hanged himself, but doubts surfaced immediately. Family and staff argued he was too frail to commit suicide. Some claimed the scene looked like murder. The theory: Hess was silenced to prevent him from revealing secrets as the Cold War thawed. The British reaffirmed suicide, but many documents remain classified, fueling suspicion. Why the secrecy over an old man's death? Was it suicide or the final act of a cover-up? The ambiguity only deepened the enigma. Rudolf Hess's story is a riddle with no final answer. His flight was a moment of high drama, his death a cloud of suspicion. Was he a madman, a peacemaker, or a pawn? What if his mission had changed the war? The Hess affair reminds us that history is full of shadows and locked doors. Every new document raises more questions. The flight of Rudolf Hess is more than a footnote. It's a mystery that challenges our understanding of Wood II. Some secrets, perhaps, are destined to remain unsolved.